Good evening. Here we are, it's July 22nd, 2016, and we're going to discuss my New York Mets. Now, coming into this season, which is now more than half over, the New York Mets were projected to be, if not the best team in baseball, certainly one of the 2 or 3 best teams in baseball. But here we are, it's July 22nd, 90 plus games in, and the Mets are 7 games back in the division. Second place to the Washington Nationals. Not only that, the Mets are right now trailing the LA Dodgers and the Florida Marlins, who they're playing right now, for the wild card spots. Clearly, thus far, this is not the season that we Met fans expected. We expected a lot better than this. Now, it's now July 22nd. July 31st, as everyone knows, is the trade deadline. And every year, every team goes through the same process of what they're going to do at the trade deadline. Should they buy, add players to the team, give up future assets and minor league players to add players now? Should they sell, trade away established players for future assets, minor league players? Should they make big moves, small moves? What moves should they make? Well, here's my advice for the Mets. 7 games back, the Nationals are playing very well. They've handled the Mets. They've won 9 out of 13 games against the Mets this year. Chances are, with 7 games back at this point in the season, very difficult to see how the Mets can catch the Nationals. They're going to have to play very well. Not impossible, but difficult. Now, we're in a 2 wild card system now, so it is possible right now for the Mets to get a wild card. They're very much in the thick of things for the wild card. So the question remains now, as far as the wild card, do you add players or do you sell players for future assets? Now here's the thing. Last week, the Boston Red Sox gave away their best pitching prospect, granted he's only an 18-year-old pitcher, to the Padres for Drew Pomeranz, who in his first start with the Red Sox was less than stellar. He got bombed. Now, the pitching market right now is very tight. And starting pitching is the one thing the Mets have, with Jacob deGrom pitching well, Syndergaard, even with his slight bone spur, pitching well, and Steven Matz, he has a larger bone spur, but still a valuable commodity, perhaps, probably, and Bartolo Colon has pitched well. Plus, the Mets possibly have, we're not sure when it's going to happen, but possibly in the next 5 weeks, they could have Zach Wheeler coming back off the DL, off Tommy John surgery, and he could be a good asset. In other words, the Mets have pitching. We've always known this. We knew it coming into the season. Matt Harvey was a bust this year. Plus, now he's injured. That was a disappointing thing for Matt Harvey this year. But the Mets still have pitching. And again, it's a very tight pitching market, I should say. Now, what if the New York Mets, and the reason why, and let me say, the Mets are now not in first place, and currently chasing a wild card spot, and not even in that at the moment, is that the hitting has been abysmal. Injuries, David Wright's injury, Travis D'Arnaud's injury, and he hasn't gotten it back together. Lucas Duda's injury, Cespedes' injury, Conforto struggles, he gets into the minors. The problem right now with the Mets team and the Mets organization is a lack of young impact hitters. Now, what if the Mets can be very smart right now, trade one of their pitchers, who, and if they decide to do that, this pitcher will be the best pitcher on the market. Keep that in mind. And get some impact prospects that are on the cusp of being major league players. Some of them even could be, possibly. And do it that way. Think of it, if they trade a pitcher now, which would be, in my opinion, smart. That's what I'm arguing right now. If they do that, they're not out of the wild card. They have pitching. Instead of 4 pitchers, they'd have 3. Or instead of 5, they'd have 4. They still have pitching. They can trade a pitcher now, get some young players back for now, possibly, but certainly for the future where they need it. And I think that would be a good move. Now, what if they dangled a pitcher like Steven Matz? Now, again, he has the bone spur, struggling, hasn't had a great year, but a young 25-year-old left-hander, a lot of value, He's had a good year this year. Not a great year, but he's had a solid year. He's been an above average pitcher. He'd be the best pitcher on the market. What if they dangled him out in front of teams? Say a team like the Texas Rangers, who are in first place, their rotation has been decimated by injuries. What if, and they have a great farm system, what if they can get a Joey Gallo, a third base prospect? David Wright's pretty much over with. I think we can all agree on that. Or at least I hope so. Lewis Brinson, a very good center field prospect. What if they have Jefferson Profar, another good young player who's had injuries and now he's back performing well. What if the Mets could get two of these guys for a guy like Matz? And Sandy Alderson has been very good at this in his tenure with the Mets. He's been very good at selling pieces to get more pieces. When he has done it, he should have done it more, but when he has done it, he's been good at it. What if they traded Steven Matz for two of those guys? Now think of this. Suppose the Mets get a Profar and say a Brinson or a Gallo. Now the Mets have potentially a third baseman for the future, a center fielder which they desperately need, and they gave up only one pitcher, and they still have four pitchers going forward, including Harvey coming off the injury. Now we'll see what happens with him. Why is this prospect should be definitely discussed, and I hope that Sandy Alderson, if he's hearing me, or he's maybe thought of it on his own, will do this. The Mets should sell a pitcher. In the next week or two, they should be selling a pitcher to teams like the Red Sox. Maybe Red Sox got one already, but like teams like the Rangers or the Dodgers. Get back some impact prospects for a pitcher now. They can still be in the wild card, and they'll get back pieces for the future. That's the way to go. So Sandy Alderson, if you hear me, get on the phone and do it.